Welcome to #52Needs, and this week we are exploring sharing. And I am so delighted to have with me my old friend and client and supporter and overall wonderful guy, Adam Furness, who has been working in media and advertisement for almost 20 years. With experience across radio, TV, digital, and a passion for tech-based startups, Adam has a diverse skill set. He has held senior leadership roles in sales, strategy, cross-platform and business development at Southern Cross Austereo, Macquarie Radio Network, and MI9. More recently, Adam was the managing director for Asia Pacific at RhythmOne, and he is currently the managing director Asia Pacific for Impact, where he has been leading the expansion of the business for the last 4 years. Adam is a founding board member of Unlimited, the media, marketing and advertising industry foundation supporting youth charities, and an advisor to several emerging tech businesses. Adam lives in Sydney with his wife, Sophia, and their 2 daughters, Chloe and Helena. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Angela.
It's so good to see you because there's just, A, it's lovely to connect with you, and B, there is so much we can talk about when it comes to sharing because you're just the perfect person for that.
Maybe I overshare.
No, you share yourself a lot, and well, we'll talk about oversharing, but
okay.
There are so many different aspects of sharing, and we've got 20 minutes to stimulate people's thinking about their need for sharing and what does it actually mean for them? Where do they overshare? Where do they undershare? All of that.
Look forward to it.
The first question I've got is, we teach children to share. We tell them that sharing is a really, really good thing. And when they don't share, we basically punish them. Because it's about cooperation, it's about taking turns, it's about negotiating and all of that. But as adults, we're not so likely to share anymore, are we?
No, I guess not. I guess maybe there's a fear in sharing. Maybe there's I don't know, maybe there's something from childhood that's kind of suggesting that you shouldn't share and should keep things close to your chest. So, yeah.
This whole thing of if you don't share, you're going to get punished. So, you know, when we grow up, we finally get into this place, I don't have to share anymore. Watch me.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe you feel more in control. So, no, that's true.
But you like sharing. I mean, you share your knowledge, you share your resources, you share your time.
100%. So, I mean, I think for me, I've done a little bit of work, and you've been involved in this as well, actually, Angela, of things I really care about and like what sits core to me. And there's 3 things. The first is evolving. So being less of a dick, being a better husband, a better father, a better human, just get better. So that's the first is kind of evolving. The second is connecting. So connecting people together, whether that's personally or professionally, people that can help each other out. So that I really care about that. And then the third is sharing. So based on my failures along the way and based on a few wins as well, it's just sort of sharing knowledge and experiences and myself with people. And I think the thing about that is, I think when I look at it, the sharing piece, it's about connection and the ability to kind of connect with people and humans. And I think that's where it really sits and resonates with me. And when I'm not feeling great, it's normally because I have or I don't have connection to those really important people in my life. So, yeah, I think that's where it comes from for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are more connected than ever before through social media. And we've just hinted on that. There's sharing and then there's oversharing. You know, I mean, I can connect with people in a really superficial way and share information. Like, I mean, do people really need to know what I've had for lunch? You know, but a lot of people don't share what really matters to them. You know, I mean, we have an epidemic at the moment with regards to suicides and mental health issues, and it's still not okay to share that. It's still, I'm fine, you know, like, don't come too close, leave me alone. And we don't go there because there's almost this feeling of, if you're sharing with me, I have a responsibility to help you.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that may be all wrapped up in the whole piece around sort of vulnerability as well. And, you know, vulnerability being can you be vulnerable and also powerful and strong and brave? And can those things coexist? And, you know, from my perspective, 100%, they coexist. In fact, being vulnerable is a great show of strength and a great show of power and a great show of bravery. And I think there's quite a big fear around that. If I let you in through sharing, you know, then I'm exposed. Yeah.
Well, thankfully, we have Brené Brown, who's doing a lot of research and a lot of promotion around that.
She's amazing, isn't she?
Yeah,
She's a really amazing lady.
And lately, we've had Ted Lasso. I don't know. Have you watched
I haven't watched it yet, and I really, I know I have to. I really want to. In fact, I was seeing we're talking about sharing, like through Facebook and Instagram of people that were out for Halloween, and there was that many Ted Lassos. It was hilarious. Like there was a guy after guy, and even females dressed up as Ted Lasso. So I can't wait to actually get into it.
It's brilliant because it is all about that. It's about sharing things. And so it's about, it doesn't actually, is not against anything. So it doesn't say, don't do this. It just points you in the direction of what does it take to be a better human being without being preachy about it. So they have this group, and I don't think this is a spoiler alert. They create this group called the Diamond Dogs, and it's about sharing.
Okay.
So it's about men sitting and then just sharing. And they say, well, you mean we don't have to fix? We can just share. We can just listen to each other. And it's the big, BFOs for some of them. But be obvious. So
no, I love that. I love that. There was actually a couple of years ago, I went out back with this charity. And what's the charity called? Oh goodness, I should remember this. I can't recall it. It might come up. Anyway, so one of the things we learn is they get these young boys, typically 12, 13, 14-year-olds out in the bush, and they get them to work with dogs and without any kind of violence, get them to train dogs. But one of the things they do is they get around in a circle around a fire, and they all kind of talk about how they're feeling out of 10. Yeah. And no one kind of comments. It's like this circle of trust. It's like, and there's people that express that I'm feeling 3 out of 10, and everyone's like, yeah. And just everyone kind of accepts it. And in fact, I've taken that into our workplace at impact.com. And we do it quite regularly. When we were smaller, we could actually go around the team every Friday and talk about how we're feeling out of 10. Now we're a lot larger, so we don't do it as much as a big team, but as part of smaller groups, we absolutely do it. And I think, it's really powerful. We're not celebrating if someone's a 9 out of 10, but we certainly are checking in if someone's like a 3 or a 4 out of 10. Yeah. I
think it's that sense of knowing that somebody can share and we don't have to fix it. That's
100%.
It's and we have this, somebody says, and we ask, I find it really hard. You ask somebody in Australia, how are you? And they come back with fine. And we both know that fine stands for fucked up, irrational, neurotic, emotionally unavailable. Don't talk to me. I'm fine.
100%.
But when you go to Europe and you ask somebody how they are, you may actually get an answer, but nobody feels obliged to actually fix it. They just go, there's empathy there.
Yeah, and not sympathy. Now, Backtrack is that charity, by the way. Backtrack, right. Okay. And they've got a documentary out, Backtrack Boys, I think. It's a really cool documentary.
So. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so the thing is, when I said at the beginning, as adults, we don't really like to share. We do like to share, especially when somebody doesn't feel so great. So we like sharing in charities. And I think what is really today is really important is we are getting more and more polarized in the way we look at the world, right? There's one way of looking at the world that's right, and then there's one way that's looking at the world that's wrong. I mean, I have discussions with people who say, no, that's completely wrong. This is the way it is. And I go, okay, well, maybe we can share, the fact that things are different. But fact is, when push comes to shove, when there's a tsunami, when there's a hurricane, when there's a flood, whatever it is, nobody looks at what we believe anymore or what's right or wrong. We just help. We just share resources. We're just there for other people. So I'm just curious, why are we not doing this all the time?
I wish I knew the answer. Yeah, I wish I knew the answer. I think I don't know. Maybe we get caught up in our own worlds and what's going on and our own capacity. And once you're kind of redlining with your own capacity, you can't look further than that. And I think, I certainly do see that across my circle where people are redlining. Like it's like I just don't have any more capacity.
Yeah.
And whether that's social media or whether that's financial pressures, where there's all these kind of things that are building up. It's like I need to look after myself first before I can kind of give.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's why, but I think from my perspective, there's this bit around happiness as well, and people doing things to make them feel good. And it can drink that makes you feel good. You can go out and have sex that makes you feel good. Maybe take drugs that do these things to make them feel good, but it doesn't make them truly happy. And have they worked out to build capacity to do things to make them truly happy? And where giving, in my perspective, from my perspective, giving is the quickest way to happiness, but you need to build that into your world. So how do you build giving into your world to really make you feel happy, not good? And then that's where kind of the sharing and thinking of others, from my perspective, sort of comes into it. But it's building that capacity in your head to kind of really think that way.
I've just been thinking as you were talking, we get really rewarded for being selfless. So in a community, you drop the self, you become selfless. That's great. But as soon as you have a self, you're selfish. And so we flip between the two of them. And I know one of my teachers, Carolyn Mace, used to say, we need to learn to be selfing, to give to ourselves first. And that's the whole, you can't pour from an empty jug. You need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And we don't teach people that. Yeah. We give people, and this is the whole, as children, you're playing with your toy. Well, sorry, you've had enough of that. You're giving that to your brother or your sister now. There's no negotiation. It's very random. And so if we're teaching people that there's abundance rather than scarcity, and that there is enough, and that people can decide what is enough, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. It sort of reminds me of conversations that I've heard, actually some podcasts I've listened to around positive sum games versus zero sum games. It's like, and our politicians, there's a lot of zero sum, so it's win-lose. Yeah. But in building business and building kind of community, everyone can win. It's a positive sum game, and if the positive sum game comes from everyone kind of giving and contributing to what it is, their cause or their business or their sort of passion. So it's interesting when you kind of think about sharing and how sharing is wrapped up into a positive sum game versus a zero-sum game. Yeah.
So we need to change our beliefs around what sharing really means. Again, if you talk to politicians, as you said, they have a very different way of looking at the world than somebody like you. Your business is all around sharing, right? People sharing resources, people sharing knowledge. You run these amazing webinars where people share their knowledge. You connect companies. You do all sorts of stuff. But again, how do we? I'm going back to children, and you've got children. Two. And I don't.
I hope I don't have three. There's two.
No, I would just went.
We have a dog as well. There
you go. Okay. Yeah. So this is really a paradigm shift, right? We went, instead of going into this whole. Again, there's not enough of things. There's not enough money. There are not enough natural resources. There are not enough, relationships. Like if I have you in my relationship, I can't share you with somebody else. Right. Yeah. So sharing is on so many different levels. So we teach children to do this in a certain way. And I'm just curious, what can we do that's different that will shift that?
maybe it's the difference between kind of the thinking around sort of small minds versus big minds, and thinking small and or playing big. It's just an openness of mindset around abundance and thinking that there's plenty of resource, plenty of things to go around.
Yeah.
The more you give, the more you're going to get. It's just opening the horizons instead of kind of looking straight down. It's just like thinking. There's this equation, which is something I think Richard Branson talks a lot about. I think it's Richard Branson, is the significance equation, which is, it's like when you have someone maybe start in your workplace and you realize that it's going to take you a lot of time with this person, say, 20 hours of kind of training and kind of development to get them up to their role. And you're thinking, I don't have the time or the energy to actually spend 20 hours with every single person. Yeah. But if you view it in a different way, which is, I'm going to spend 20 hours with them now, it's going to save 200 hours, 2,000 hours down the track, and the return is going to be 10x, 100x.
Yeah.
Then it's a change in kind of thinking and mindset. It's the difference between thinking big and thinking small, or thinking significant and thinking kind of micro. And I think it sort of plays into the same kind of thing around sharing. It's like, if you start thinking big, and if I give more, whatever that may be, knowledge, money, support, it will come back, and it'll come back tenfold. So I don't know, maybe that's kind of part of it, but it's certainly something that I think a lot about is, how can we, in our business, how do we 10x our business, 100x our business? How do I improve my relationships much better than what they are now? What can I do to feel like I'm contributing more, because I know selfishly that makes me feel good. So how can I help? It's
exactly. I mean, the whole thing about being selfish, helping somebody. I mean, we get lots of oxytocin and serotonin from, like all the feel-good chemicals from helping other people. I went to the markets a couple of weeks ago, and they had their square thing had, where you swipe your phone or your credit card. They had forgotten to bring their FPOS machine, and so they said, well, our boss gave us the account details. Can you just transfer into the account? And phones can do that these days, right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, I tried 3 times, and I said, I can't. The account number doesn't work. And they went, what are we going to do? And the woman in front of me, who had just paid with cash, said, what's your bill? And I said, well, $17. And she said, let me just pay that for you. And I went, so how can I pay you back? She says, don't. She said, I don't swim in money, but I've got enough to be able to share. And I said, well, then I'll pay it forward. She says, great idea. And it was just a wonderful experience of having that sense of generosity, of not, there was somebody who was sharing not their wealth, but there was, in that sense of, oh, I have more than enough. But the person was saying, I have enough, I can afford it. And you really need this right now. This is going to make things much easier. So don't give it back to me.
Love that example.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that example. And when people have, they shout someone in the line of coffee. It's just a little, it's sharing kind of kindness, but it goes a long way. In fact, I was at the local coffee shop, and I see this guy every morning. His name's Johnny. And Johnny must be in his 70s or 80s. He's just a great guy. He's always got a story for me. We're the kind of first 2 at the coffee shop, because it opens at 6. I get up at 5:30, do my thing, and then end up there on the way through to do some more exercise. It's just a bit of routine. And one day Johnny didn't have his card, or his card wasn't working. I just sort of tapped. I went, don't worry about it, Johnny. I've got it. And he was so surprised. I'm like, this coffee was like $3. And the next day I came to go to the coffee shop, and my coffee had been paid. And I said, and they said, oh no, Johnny got it. I just thought, I didn't want him to get me a coffee, but I just thought it just, it gives you that feeling of there's good people out there.
Exactly.
And, I feel a bit more connected to him now. and we talk a lot. And yeah, I think it's those small things, those small shares, and that's a share of kindness that can make a big difference.
Yeah. So the small things lead to big things, because once you create that attitude, and again, this is for children as well, you just get, I think you create a different society because consciousness completely shifts, doesn't it? So, okay. I have, when I looked at this, I had so many aspects that I wanted to discuss. There was just so much about sharing, but maybe what we do is we'll transition into the other chat and have a look at what is sharing at work, how does that impact? But hopefully we've given people so much food for thought for what does sharing mean, how many aspects of sharing there are, when do you share enough, when not enough, when do when do you feel that you have to give, when you really don't want to share, all of these aspects, because that's what really matters. Because when sharing comes from generosity and from gratitude, it's a totally different thing than when it comes from obligation and that sense of I have to, must to, ought to.
And share and not expect anything back. Yeah.
Perfect point. Thank you so much, Adam. Okay, so you can follow us again. You can come back to the other conversation that we're having in the other video. For now, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Adam, for your wisdom, and we'll see you next week.
My pleasure. Thanks, Angela.